Hey, what's up? It's your boy Young Machete, and why is Smokepurpp falling off? If Smokepurpp is finally falling off, I use the word finally because let's be honest, a lot of us, regardless of whether or not you're a fan of his, a lot of us have been seeing that there has been a certain downwards trajectory in his career for a long time now. For a couple years now, a lot of us have been seeing that his wave from when he blew up, that same energy isn't being kept today. He released his Florida Jit album, and it only sold 5,000 first week. And it's just so many contributing reasons to why Smokepurpp is in the middle of his fall off right now, and I just want to get straight into them. First of all, the first sign that Smokepurpp was in a bad situation in his career is the fact that let's look at somebody that he's constantly being compared to, somebody who you can't really talk about Smokepurpp's come up in hip hop without talking about this other artist because they're just so similar. Everything from ethnicity to the sound of their music to the image that they give off online, they just have so many. They're almost the same person. And this somebody I'm talking about is Lil Pump. The first sign that Smokepurpp was in the middle of his fall off is the fact that he's constantly being compared to this other artist, and this other artist happens to be a quote unquote bad artist. And what I mean by that is that he's not really doing well. He's actually in the middle of his fall off as well. And I know a lot of people will come at me and be like, no, he's not in the middle of his fall off. When he releases a YouTube video, it gets millions of views in a matter of weeks. And that's true, but the problem is his fans don't have the same energy when it comes to his albums. When he released Harvard Dropout, it failed to sell more than 50K first week. And somebody who's as big and famous as Lil Pump, you can't really walk into a room filled with hip hop fans and say Lil Pump, and somebody will be like, who's that? Everybody knows who Lil Pump is. So when somebody of that level of fame releases an album and it doesn't sell more than 50K first week, you know that you have a problem. So now the first sign that Smokepurpp was in the middle of his fall off is the fact that he's constantly being compared to another bad artist. That's already a bad sign, but the fact that when people compare the two of you and they still say Smokepurpp, in this comparison, you're still the bad person. You're still the bad artist. Between comparing these two bad artists, you're still the bad one. That was already a sign. Because one thing I can at least give Lil Pump credit for is that he has somewhat of a fan base. His fan base isn't necessarily the most loyal of fan bases. They're not the most supportive of fan bases, but at least he has certain 13-year-old suburban kids that will pull up in somebody's comment sections and say, hey, stop disrespecting Lil Pump. I'm a Lil Pump fan and you guys need to get off. He actually has some people that actually wholeheartedly support him in some way, shape, or form. I don't really see anybody riding or dying for Smokepurpp. I don't see anybody giving off that same energy for Smokepurpp. And this is because he never actually took the time out of his career to actually try and build and cultivate a fan base. Now, another reason why Smokepurpp is in the middle of his downfall is the fact that he, along with other similar types of artists, they mistake antics online for marketing. Now, I have honestly been seeing a lot of Smokepurpp on the internet lately. I have been seeing people like academics post him on Instagram for doing something crazy, something similar to the things that Lil Pump will do. You know, he'll paint his toenails or he'll be wearing a feminine bag or a bra or whatever, just those types of crazy things. And they make this assumption in their heads that if they do things like that and they get their name out there, that people will actually turn up for the music. And that's not the truth. People like to say all publicity is good publicity, but that isn't the case anymore, especially in the age of the internet where everybody is always everywhere for doing something controversial. That isn't the case anymore. People won't see you do something crazy or controversial on the internet and say, whoa, this dude's name is everywhere, so I want to check out his music. People don't make that association in their heads. So artists like Smokepurpp need to find that line between clout chasing and marketing, because those two aren't necessarily connected all the time. Another reason why Smokepurpp is in the middle of his downfall is the fact that he came up back in the day around the SoundCloud era. And the thing is that the SoundCloud sound, that SoundCloud wave, it's kind of old now. I know a lot of people like to look at SoundCloud rappers and think, you know, they're the new wave or whatever, but that was actually the case about 5 years ago. In this day, in this era, the SoundCloud wave is actually kind of old now. And Smokepurpp came up off of that with his heavy, trippy 808 sound. But you see artists like your Lil Uzi Verts or your 21 Savages, and they're still relevant today because they actually saw that, okay, the sound is actually kind of dying out. I have to reimagine myself and try to build myself sonically and try to put out more music that's more relevant to this era. Hence why the 2016 XXL freshmen, a majority of them today are still relevant because they actually saw that there was a need for that change and they actually adapted to that change. And the sad part is that I feel like Smokepurpp actually also saw that change. He saw the trouble coming and he tried to make a change in his music. And around 2018, he tried to come with a more melodic sound in his music, but it just came off bad. Unfortunately, he didn't have that thing, that God-given talent in him to actually be an artist, somebody who actually has that intuition to know what the public wants to hear. He doesn't have that gift. Hence his change in tone in music didn't come off well to his fans. And another thing that didn't really help his reputation was the fact that he got beat up by Russ's goons. And this was in a time where I feel like Russ today is finally getting the props that he deserves. He genuinely is a good artist. He does put out good music and he actually cares about the culture. He has donated to certain charities and called out certain people for appropriation. He actually is a somewhat good person and people are finally starting to recognize that. But the problem is this happened. Smokepurpp got beat up way back when Russ was still one of the most hated rappers in hip hop. So now when you're in a situation where one of the biggest owls in hip hop takes a W from beating you up, then it's almost time to give up. There was almost no redemption for him, in my opinion. And I'm I'm not one of those people who hate on people like Smokepurpp for no reason. It is possible for him to build himself up. We've seen that with people like Tiger, or that brief moment in history when Soulja Boy came back into the mainstream. We have seen that it is kind of possible to build yourself up after a fall off. So I'm not saying this with any negative intent towards Smokepurpp. I actually look down on people who hate on other people just in the name of clout, just because they feel like I'm supposed to hate on this person because everybody hates on them. That's not what I'm doing at all. But at the end of the day, I do have to call out reality, and reality is right now Smokepurpp is in the middle of his fall off. Tell me what you think of Smokepurpp's current situation in his career, and if you like this type of content, I suggest watching this next video right now. Click on it right now.